And we begin at 4 with breaking new information in a shooting at Heritage High School in Newport News. The suspect is now in custody. It comes after a chaotic morning at the school.
2 teenagers are in the hospital right now after getting shot. 2 others were taken there for other medical reasons. The situation, of course, leaving many students feeling uneasy.
I didn't really think it was a gun until I really saw everybody just rushing out, and I just said, oh my God, it's a shooter. All I felt was just terror.
Fortunately, police tell us everyone should be okay and survive.
And tonight, 13 News Now has live team coverage of this shooting. We'll hear from Allison Basil shortly, but let's get right to Evan Watson to bring us up to speed on the investigation.
Newport News Police Chief Steve Drew tells me officers located and arrested a shooting suspect thanks to calls from community members. The suspect is a teenage boy. Chief Drew declined to give his name or age at this time. He didn't answer if the suspect is a student at Heritage High School. Drew says the suspect left the school after the shooting and officers found him off-site. Now Chief Drew says he's trying to visit the 2 students who were shot and are in the hospital. Police say a 17-year-old boy was grazed in the head with a bullet and a 17-year-old girl was shot in the leg. Their injuries are reported as non-life-threatening. Currently, Heritage High School is closed as investigators collect evidence and take photos.
It's a large area, but it looks like the crime scene is considerably small. I will tell you that there has been evidence recovered that's going to be very, very beneficial because there are some things we need to put together. Where did he go? What did he leave behind? Why did this happen? But I can tell you that the individual that committed this act is in custody.
Chief Drew says the next step is to understand why this shooting happened. He says it's believed that the shooter knew the 2 shooting victims who are now in the hospital. Police did use school security video to find this suspect. Janet Phillip.
Yeah, Evan, you mentioned there was a community member that I believe helped out in finding that suspect. Do we have any more clarification on how that happened?
Chief Drew said they got lots of calls in, both from family members of people who are at this high school, whether that is students or teachers, we don't know at this time, but also community members who called in to the Newport News Police Department while this all was unfolding, which helped them locate the suspect. But I did ask him, he didn't say specifically who gave the right tip or how that worked, but that helped locate the shooting suspect around 1:30 this afternoon.
All right, Evan, thank you so much. Stay safe out there. And Allison Basil also got to the scene shortly after the shooting first happened.
She spoke with a lot of parents and joins us live in Newport News. Allison.
Yes, Philip, Janet, today many family members and loved ones got a phone call from their child that they never want to get about the shooting here at Huntington High School. at Heritage High School. Newport News police say they got word of the shooting around 11:38 a.m. Several parents tell us their child called them in a panic and they immediately rushed to the school. When we got here, cars did back up down Marshall Avenue, which is the road in front of the school, and parents and family members were all over the school grounds, and you could see the panic in each parent's eyes as they waited for their child to meet up with them, or as we saw, they finally held them tight. Now, Newport News school officials tell us Huntington Middle School 6th and 7th graders also occupy the top part of the school while Huntington is under construction. A 6th grader at Huntington says he was doing schoolwork when an alarming announcement came over the PA system.
We heard on the announcement that lockdown, and at first we thought it was just a drill, so we all went under our tables, and they said, and the teachers told us to go to the corner, and then they said it is a shooter in the school, and we all was in the corner and we was quiet.
And among the parents, several community leaders and church leaders came here to pray with students and their family, and we'll show you how the community stepped up on 13 News Now at 5. Janet, Phillip.
And Allison, a lot of parents are also asking about security, wanting to know how in the world did a gun get into the school in the first place? What are authorities saying about how secure the school was?
Now, I did hear Dr. Parker talking about how they often look in the lockers or do drills like that, and every now and book bags, but they didn't go into too much detail about that. I actually did see a school board member before we talked with Dr. Parker asking him a bunch of questions about that. So I would assume that that might be coming up at a future school board meeting.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Allison, thank you.
Yeah, and a lot of local leaders are weighing in on the shooting, sharing their concern and condolences.
And David Allen is here to run through a few of their reactions online.
Yeah, Janet and Philip, a lot of them weighed in as the situation first unfolded. We didn't really know exactly what was going on at the time. Senator Mark Warner tweeted that he prayed for the health and safety of everyone. As we learn more about what was involved here, former Governor Terry McAuliffe echoed that sentiment. Meanwhile, Governor Ralph Northam said he's grateful to the first responders for their work and praying for the entire community. Finally, Congressman Bobby Scott, who represents Newport News, of course, said he was closely monitoring the situation. He urged all parents to follow directions from law enforcement as they work to get their children, something that Chief Drew said the community did a great job of. Janet.
All right, David, thank you. And just like so many of us, parents of Heritage High School students dropped off their kids this morning, expecting them to be safe. I talked to parent Cynthia White, who got the desperate call from her Heritage 11th grader, Maddie.
So she called me to tell me that they were on lockdown and the shooter was actually on her hallway because she could hear the shots and it was very close. She said it was close, and so they were on lockdown. I just want to know how the heck somebody got a gun in the school. I thought they had metal detectors, but I guess it doesn't help. They don't use them. That was just a crazy scene to pull up there and see all the parents, you know, waiting for their kids and parents walking away with their kids and the kids crying and school taped off. That you don't want to see that.
No, you don't.
You don't want to see that. And that's not how I envisioned my day going today. I'm sure nobody envisioned their day going like that. But that's another, you know, a symptom of these kids not knowing their worth, I think. I just seriously think they don't know how valuable they are, and they don't think they're valuable. And so whoever the shooter is, he has ruined his life. The people who he shot, and God forbid if somebody died. I mean, that's for what? For whatever the reason was, it's not worth it. It's a temporary problem. You can't use a permanent solution for a temporary problem. And these kids, they're so caught up in the technology that they're not equipped with social skills to handle how to deal with their anger.
She brings up so many good points in that interview, and like so many parents, White has a lot of questions, and so does her daughter Maddie, who's doing okay, and they both want to make sure the school is safe. Well, this situation is still developing, and we're still learning more about the victims and the person police have in custody. To keep up with the story, scan the QR code on your screen with your smartphone and download the free 13 News Now app.